Hey, jom lari. Jangan berhenti. Sikit lagi. Cuba ni.
Wow, 100 plus aktif tanpa karbonat.
100 plus aktif baru tanpa karbonat ditambah vitamin B. Hidrat semula, segar, bertenaga. 100 plus aktif baru tanpa karbonat ditambah vitamin.
Hey.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon everyone. Warm greetings from the FA of Malaysia. Very good afternoon to everyone. Selamat petang. My name is Rizal Hashim. I will be the moderator for this webinar, which is the 6th in FAM's webinar series. A wide range of issues had been discussed in the previous webinars. Among them, football marketing in the digital age, the demands and challenges of the modern referee, and the growth of futsal. Today, we are indeed fortunate to have some of the best minds in the region or even the continent to discuss the development and growth of women's football. Please allow me the honor of introducing our panelists for today's webinar. The first panelist is former China national team player, Ms. Lili, who is now the head of women's football technical division of the Asian Football Confederation. As a player, Ms. Lili featured in the AFC Women's Asian Cup in 2006, where China emerged as champions. She shared the pitch with Birgit Prinz of Germany in the Athens Olympics in 2004, and swapping the jersey to become an assistant for the China Under-17 team in the Costa Rica edition of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. Ms. Lili possesses an AFC professional coaching diploma. Our next panelist, our second panelist, we say hello and kalispera, that is good afternoon in Greek, to Mr. Joseph Palatsides, the technical director of the AFA of Singapore. Mr. Palatsides or Joseph is of Greek descent and is tasked to oversee the development of Singapore football, age group teams, grassroots and women's football, having succeeded Belgian Michel Sablon as the Supremo in May 2019. Mr. Palatsides is also known for his work at youth level, especially in Melbourne, where he is credited with having established Melbourne City's Academy in 2016. And of course, he is a good friend of Prak coach Mehmet Durakovic.
That's right. Good afternoon.
Our third panelist, we wish a warm welcome to Mr. Prak Vuthy, former national team player of the Kingdom of Cambodia. He was voted the best coach of the year in 2012, having guided Boeing Cat Rubberfield to the C League title. As a player, he was a teammate of Hock Sochetra, a Cambodian legend, in the 1996 AFF Cup. Now he's the Women's Football Director of the Football Federation of Cambodia. Mr. Vuthy will be assisted by Ms. Panya as his interpreter for today's webinar. Our fourth panelist for Malaysian participants and viewers, Mr. Tin Min Aung, has an interesting background. He played for the Armed Forces in the 1991 semi-pro season, in fact earlier, from 89 to 91, under coach Nordin Jan and also Englishman Bill Asprey. In 1993, he bagged the silver medal in the Singapore SEA Games, and he has become a very familiar nemesis for Malaysia, for he held various positions in the past as team manager in the Asian Cups qualifiers in 2003, where he crossed swords with Alan Harris. And in 2013, he was Myanmar's team manager in the 41st edition of the Merdeka tournament in Kuantan. He will be speaking today in his capacity as the head coach of Myanmar's women team. And last but not least, our own coach from Malaysia, Mr. Jacob Joseph, the FM Technical Director for Women's Football. He was a former player with Armed Forces, Perak Jandarata, and also my team youth coach and MIC MIFA team. Coach Jacob has an extensive experience in the women's game. This is in fact his third stint as the head coach of the women's team, having had his first in 1999 to 2001, the second one in 2011 to 2014, and again from 2018 until the present. Thank you again to all our panelists for taking their time to be with us in this webinar. Again, just to recap for today's webinar, which is FM 6 in the FM webinar series, we will be discussing the development and growth of women's football. Interestingly, all 5 panelists are not only former players with a technical background, technical and coaching background, they are now in a position to effect changes for being part of the decision-making process in their respective countries. So I shall pose the first question to Ms. Lili. Asia is not only the largest and most diverse continent in the world, but also a continent of contrast. On one hand, you have the likes of Australia, Japan, China, and South Korea featuring in the World Cup. On the other hand, we have nations who are struggling to encourage participation in the women's game. So what would be AFC's plans to develop and grow the women's game in this continent, Ms. Lili?
Good afternoon, Rizal, and also to other panelists, and good afternoon to all the audience online. Actually, of course, AFC do have a plan for this decade. After the Women's World Cup in 2019 France, we reviewed the previous document which applied from 2013 to 2019 and start to draft the new one for this decade. Mike, can you bring up the slides? Yeah, this is the development strategy which applied for 2020 to 2030, and we name it Aiming for Better. So before we really doing the plans, we ask ourselves, what do we really want? The answers are: we want more girls to play, we want talented girls to practice more and to receive high quality coaching. And we also want Asian club and national teams to compete successfully at the highest level. And so we put the principles underpinning the strategy. The first one is equal opportunity. Whatever is done for boys, men should also be done for the girls and women. Integration, encourage professional men's teams to use their resources and brand to establish women's team. Allow mixed football at grassroots level. And the recognition, enthusiastically promote and brand women's game and empower women to influence development projects and future policies. And in simple words, equal opportunity, fairness, and football is a game for all. Then this is our AFC mission statements in women's football: to passionately pursue the promotion, protection, and development of women's football in Asia by providing a service which is highly professional, energetic, progressive, and MA-orientated. And then we have these 10 steps forwards, which in the implementation stage. I don't really have time to explain here in detail, but these 10 steps covers increasing the participation, coach education, competition improvement, club licensing, which we can talk a little bit more later, youth development, good governance, etc. And this is the winning formula. The AFC have to work together with our member association closely, plus innovation, equal progress. So this is what we are going to do in these 10 years. But first things, the only thing I can do now is to wish the pandemic over soon. Then we can into the implementation stage. So back to you, Rizal.
Thank you, Ms. Lili, for the sharing session. I think that's yet to be published by AFC. Yeah, that's an added value for our participants today. This may enlighten football practitioners, particularly those involved in the women's game, especially at grassroots level. So my next question would be, is there a written vision and mission for the development plan in Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, and Myanmar? And if the answer is yes, can we make the AFC development strategic plan as a template to meet objectives? Can we start with Coach Jacob, please?
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Rizal, and good afternoon, all the panelists. Okay, we supposed to launch our women development plan for this year, but because of the pandemic, we already postponed to the next year. That means in the 10 years plan, we already got include our plan is increase the playing population of female football in Malaysia. That's our vision. And another thing is to be ranked among the top 60 country in the world football by 2030. Now is our rank is around 90. Okay, our mission is to increase the women participant as a coach and a referee, especially from the ex-players. That's our mission. And second, to improve the elite player to build a successful Malaysian team and double up the number of female players. Now we got a female players around 700 around that. That means we try to increase to 20,000 by 2030 and improve the league, women league, quality of a women league. Second, we grow the women football fund base. That's our vision and mission. Thank you, Mr. Rizal.
Yeah, Coach Jacob, from 700 players up to 20,000, that's a huge jump, yeah? Okay.
It's a 10 years
yep,
plan.
okay.
That's a 10 years plan.
Okay, Mr. Palatsides, or shall I just address you as Joseph? Coach Joseph.
Joe is fine, Rizal. Thank you.
Yep, yeah, okay. What do you have in Singapore?
Yes, we have a development plan for our whole football structure. You know, it's a holistic approach to how we want footballers developed in Singapore that can also capture the values of Singapore, their culture, and their landscape. You know, it revolves around a lot of different things. It revolves around our philosophy and methodology, our coach education system and how we can impact the coaches, our competition structure, our talent identification process, our physical development, and all that relates to our women's game as well. In Singapore, you know, we're not at the highest level in our women's game, and we realise that, but we're very, very strong in our beliefs that we can grow this game, the women's game, and make it bigger and stronger in the coming years. A lot of the things that I touched on just before apply to what we have in store for the women's in the short term, medium term, and long term plans. There's no doubt, like Mr. Jacob said, that we need to grow our participation rate in girls football. We're in our infancy, but we're starting to grow it with different programs in place. Our competition structure, we need to enhance that to make it a stronger competition and a better pathway for the girls going forward. We have our coach education system where it wasn't only the participation of our girls that are playing, it's also the coaches that we need a bigger pool of coaches to be able to impact our women's game as well. We're into, and we hope to announce very shortly, a club licensing agreement where we will have our women's teams now associated with our men's SPL teams. You know, we want to create a more professional environment for the women and a better training environment for the women. We see this as a key part of it all. From that, we'll have a competition structure that will filter down through the professional teams, through to the youth age groups, which we, like I said before, we want to enhance our competition structure. And all that should lead to a better footballer and a better national team player. So we hope in a very short period of time, we'll be able to put a lot of these areas in place and grow the game substantially in Singapore.
Yes, Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for the information. Okay, Mr. Prak Vuthy, how are things in Cambodia? Do you have a vision, mission statement on paper at least? Yes, Miss Panye, can you hear us?
And good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. So let me.
Well, it's unfortunate that the connection from Cambodia is a little bit off. Let's pose the question to Mr. Tin instead. Mr. Tin.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me now?
Please,
Yeah.
please go ahead, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, judges. Also, the all panelists. Hope you all the best. I think all the people is preparation for the COVID-19 pyramids. So, for federations, women, we have our guest talented ID systems, quality coaches, education, graded practice, player to create more girls and women's competition with the industry, increase the number of women participating in the coaching, referees, and the administration at all levels. Also to become competitive in Asia and the world. Our mission is to create and encourage women for the whole country to promote the value of the sport to girls and women. This is our mission. Also, that we have one philosophy for the women on the traditional strength, DNA, and the further development and the improvement of the physical and technical are because they're everywhere. If you want to develop, so we need to emphasize some of the grassroots. Also, you need to know about, you need to understand, we need to understand about what is usually happen in our situations, about our women players, the DNA. So that is our federations, the women football vision, mission, and philosophies. Also, we are still starting to approach to the Asian and world levels. So we have to try as much how much we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tin. Maybe can we get back to Mr. Prak Vuthy from Cambodia to share his thoughts? Is that possible? Miss Panye, can you hear us? Yeah? Oh, okay. So we go on to the next question. To Coach Jacob, what do you do in Malaysia actually to increase, as you spoken just now, to increase the participation of the girls in the game?
First, we must put a structure of the development of a grassroots in place first. Second, to get a workshop course for educators, teachers, and parents. Increase the participants in the grassroots football program. Okay. I mean, develop football in the schools as a curriculum program. Now we already sent to the letter to our Ministry of Education to approve the curriculum in school. For timing, we are having only 2 sports schools. especially under 15 and under 17. In technical development, it's very important to improve the standard of quality of coaching and referee. To improve the marketing, marketing is developing the strategy to sell the broadcast or digital and media right. Identify ambassador. Ambassador, this is mostly is ex-players. They got some followers in social media. They mean this player to promote our football profile, the woman profile. Second, we are collaborate with the shareholder like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sport, and the sponsor. Then we are trying to arrange like a social league tournament. This tournament is 1 month once, play like a 7-a-side. We want to try first 1 month once. We are having a social league. Second, we are having our carnival. We are supposed to have a clinic, grassroots clinic this year. That's also we postponed because we try to go to 54 district, all Malaysia, to look of players in grassroots. We postponed to next year. Then we got some new tournament like under 17, under 12. Our national league also we try to change to league system, and league system. That's only for our increase the participant in the women football in Malaysia. Okay, Rizal?
Okay, Coach Jacob, your line was breaking up just now, but I understood the sentiments. Coach, Mr. Tin, you spoke about philosophy and DNA in the game in Myanmar, and also I'm sure Myanmar also faces the problem of the challenge of having to increase the participation in the game. So, what are your plans in trying to increase the female participation in football, Mr. Tin?
Yes, okay, because now we are, just now I mentioned it before, in our visions. So we start the grassroots in school. So we need to start football grassroots from grassroots. So can you hear me? Can you see me now? Hello? Can you see me?
Yes, Mr. Tin.
Okay.
We can hear you. Please proceed. Yes.
Okay. So now that we are collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Sports and the Ministry of the Educations. So we started from the grassroots. So MFF, we are making the curriculum and the others, the women creating the development program. So we already sent to the Ministry of Health and Sport and Ministry of Educations. So if we want to increase the women football, so we cannot do alone. So that's why we need to collaborate with the Ministry of Health and Sport, Ministry of Educations. First, we need to start from the school. So that's why actually yearly, so we are used to do the grassroots activities, graduate coaching course, MFF grassroots coaching course at the 11 times a year. And we are doing that. And then, so we are educate to all the coaches first. And then, so we are going to the grassroots activities. So that is our first step to are engaged their football to the women. After that, we are doing the under 13, under 12, under 30, under 50 regional division championship. So at the times of the Ministry of Health and Sports, the Ministry of Education, and then also the very strange thing is the last 2019, 17, we staffed on the Township Football Associations. So Township Football Association also collaborate with the football development. So that's why also we need to educate to the Township Football Associations, the partners, stakeholders to increase the women footballs. After that, so when we are doing the competition, we must start from the townships, regionals, and the district. So if you doing the like this, so we can increase the players. But at the moment, so we have a league now. So we have 8 teams. So we are used to do that every years. So we are doing also broadcasting from the TV live. Also, we are sent the daily live. So that is the increase to play the football women to play the football for our country. So that is as our first step. Lastly, so we are going to under 13, under 14 regional championship to participate AFA Women Championship, AFC, the World Cup. So that we are going to step by step like a pyramid, right? So we are doing like this,
Mr. Tin.
Yes.
Yes, interesting that you're working with township. You mean residential areas on top of the regional regions in Myanmar?
Yes, because the last 2017, we are according to our president, he tried a lot of things to collaborate with the FIFA. So we found the Township Football Association. Now we have a totally 330 townships, but now we have now 240 townships already organized. So we have so many hands now to develop the football. That's why. So when we are going to do the competitions, also we are educating them and to participate for the women development pathway.
Clearly, Malaysia and Myanmar will have to work hand in hand with the relevant stakeholders, especially the various ministries, in particularly Sports Ministry and the Education Ministry. So we go to the next question. I shall pose this to Miss Lili. Joe spoke about in Singapore, you are having a club licensing agreement, in place. So, Miss Lili, from AFC's perspective, is it compulsory for all member associations under AFC to have women's football in the club licensing regulations?
Currently, in AFC club licensing regarding women's football, it's in the C criteria. Means the licensed applicant must have at least one women's team within its legal entity or another legal entity included in the reporting perimeter. The women's team must take part in official competitions played at the national, regional, or local level. Currently, it's in the criteria C, means best practice recommendations. It means it may become mandatory criteria at a later stage. So this is a signal for our participating clubs that you should really get yourself ready for it become mandatory in our club licensing. It's actually giving you a time to prepare for that. As I know, many member associations already start to responding and reacting on that. For example, CFA, China Super League, they already implement from this year the Super League men's clubs or having women's team. And I also heard from India, and they already announced they're gonna going to implement very soon. And also, I just heard from Joseph, Singapore is also thinking of that. So it's gonna become the reality. So guys, really prepare yourself well. The women's team is coming. Back to you, Rizal.
So one day, the possibility of clubs competing in the respective leagues, it is mandatory for them to have a women's team as part of the club licensing regulations. Yeah, Miss Lili.
Yes. So
Yes.
far it's not mandatory, but it's already in the criteria C to get them prepared for that. So it says in my apply become mandatory at a later stage. This is that the AFC need to see how late. But as many member association already start to responding and reacting on that, so I think it's not too long.
Okay. Let's have now we welcome back Mr. Prak Vuthy, who got disconnected just now. Perhaps I can again pose this question: is there any vision or mission statement in Cambodia when it comes to women's football, Mr. Prak Vuthy? Miss Panye?
Yeah, so good afternoon, and everyone's hearing me, right?
Yeah.
So let's get to your question back to the vision and the mission for the development plan in our country. And this is really like short-term plan to what the 2023 of the SEA Games, as which Cambodia is hosting to be implemented into the in the year. So Cambodia organized the first Cambodia women football league in 20, because this year is really the first league women league that we just start, and the quality of our league is still weak. That's why we established after the league start from this year and the next year and toward to our SEA Games. So that we need to do that urgently to strengthen the quality of the women league hierarchy. Competitive and attractive as well. So all the club in Cambodian League are required to have the women football team to strengthening the structure and quality of the coach in our women football league is very important, because the other teams now is only like doesn't have any professional club. So that's why we persuade the Cambodian League club to have the women team. Yeah, so we will organize more and more match in additional to the league, and also we will prepare women philosophy. That's what this, yeah. So once a year and in accordance with so once in a year they will and introduce with the actual situation and level of the ability that Cambodia can do. So our goal in the Cambodian women's football to enter the semi-final of the 2023 SEA Games, and which Cambodia hosts too. That's why is clear for you to establish the team in Cambodia to have the more match game from this year, next year, and another SEA Games. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Panya, on behalf of Mr. Prak Vuthy. Okay, let's move on to question number 5. Coach Jacob, wish to pose this question to you. You spoke about putting in place a strategic plan, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, it has been put on hold. But how do you? What would be your strategic plans to make the transition for youth players to the senior level in Malaysia?
Okay, thank you, Rizal. Mike, please put my slide, please. Okay, this is our pathway, players pathway. This is our program next year we are launching. Okay, this is a grassroots. We call the academic tunas. This is age 7 to 12. That means we are opening next year around 20 center. 20 center. Then we go for the talent program. Talent program we got they call it a district. District. This age is we are taking around 30 to 70, and we are 20 center. But this 20 center maybe we will open for 2022. Okay, next is we're going to our performance program. This is our pathway from the grassroots to the senior team. Then we try to go to the sports school, state sports school. Then we try to around a 6 center. This is around 2023 or 2022, depend on our pandemic. They got a 6 center for the state sports school. Then we go for the national sports school. We try to go 4 center. Now we got the 2 center. That means it's under 15 and under 17. Then this from the under sports school under 17. Then they will go to the university. That means we try to create a university league for them. It's a 70 to 23. Then go to the senior team. The senior team, we got our league, national league. This is our pathway for the academy to the senior team. Okay, Rizal.
Yeah. Okay, Coach Jacob. Mr. Joseph, what's your plans in Singapore? What are the plans for them to make that transition? Even though we know for a fact that you're struggling to increase the participation of female footballers, but what would be your plans?
Yeah, I'm not too sure if we're struggling. I think we're just building at this point of time. Our women's department's been doing a fantastic job in engaging the community, engaging the schools, and really building that participation, and it's increasing every year, which is fantastic. The transition from youth to senior football, it's an important part of the development of the girls going forward. So one of the first things we wanted to do was to stabilise the Women's Premier League. Over the previous years, we had a small amount of teams in our top flight division. Some teams, we must understand, still at an amateur level. So therefore, there hasn't possibly been the finances in and around to run the competition in a more structured way and at a better level. So what we're trying to do is stabilise our top division. From that point on, though, we need to make sure that we have a functional pathway all the way through from youth, grassroots, and all the way through the youth and into the Women's Premier League. So we have to look at a few different things. Are the girls getting the right type of coaching at each level? This is an area that we really want to address. How can we get more women's coaches involved? How can we teach them with a new curriculum, better coaching methods to help the girls get better? Once we do achieve that, then we have a look at the competition structure and we say, is it challenging enough for the girls? Are they being appropriately challenged at every level so that they can get better? Is their technical ability being challenged to a good degree? Is their physical ability being challenged to a degree? What we're planned on doing, and COVID obviously interrupted, was we were going to have some of our girls teams participating in our boys competitions as well, just to make sure that they get challenged at a higher level. Another area that we wanted to look at was, are they getting enough games within the school system? At the moment, our women's department runs the whole of the girls' competitions through the schools, from primary school all the way up to CB and A division, which is under 14s, under 17s and under 19 level. And they do a great job putting all these competitions together and helping them. But we haven't got enough probably schools involved, and we probably haven't got enough games per year. So these are all little areas that are challenges, but areas that we've identified and we will address going forward. So all of these areas will be addressed, and hopefully we'll have a much better structured system for the transition of our youth girls all the way through to our senior level. One other thing I might just add, Rizal, just quickly, is that we are going through a national project at the moment for Goal 34, which is a national project on football within Singapore. This will impact the landscape of Singapore football, both boys and girls actually. But in particular today, as we're talking about the girls' game, the women's game, it will give us more resources, more facilities, and a lot more opportunity to grow the game. So that's something that we can be very, very excited about here in Singapore.
Thank you, Joseph. I must retract the word struggling. It should be, coping. Or,
No problem at all.
Yes. We are supposed to have, but before we go for a break, I just wish to ask Ms. Lili. You spoke about the principles underpinning the development strategic plan for AFC. You spoke about equal opportunity. Whatever is done for the boys should also be done for the girls. We know that some countries encourage the girls and the boys to play together. Perhaps some countries like Japan. Is that also a part of the plans for AFC to encourage the countries to do the same? Other countries to do the same?
Yeah. Yes, as actually from previous slides, you already see the integration, as I mentioned, to encourage the mixed football at the grassroots level. But of course, we need to respect the culture in the countries, and there's still some barriers between different gender or even different religions. So I think that's what we advocated, but in the implementation stage, that it still needs to modified or in different form integrations by the countries. So I think each country, they need to work out their unique way to make it happen, and also it's also in the sense of increase the participation at the grassroots level. So I think there's a lot of benefits in mixed football, which Joseph also mentioned. It's to increase the abilities, competitiveness, and also they can learn from each other. And from my own experiences, I play together with boys at the school age. There's not really difference from the physical and the technical ability. So they can learn from each other, helping each other improve. So I hope that people are seeing the benefits and really make the improvements in that, even though there's some cultural barriers, religious issues. And that's the direction we should work together towards too. Back to you, Rizal.
Thank you, Ms. Lili. Okay, it has been an interesting discussion so far with Ms. Lili of AFC having revealed to the viewers or participants what do they have in store for women's football in Asia leading to 2030 with a positive response from our panelists. Now we take a break, but don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to your devices. We will be back shortly. Welcome back to this FM webinar series, the sixth of its kind, with today's topic, development and growth of women's football, brought to you by our partners. During the first segment, Miss Lili of AFC had disclosed to us AFC's development strategy between now and 2030, while the panelists had given their response by on issues, especially the female participation in the game. But before we kick off the second segment, there is a poll which requires our audience to participate in. The development of grassroots should be prioritized to increase female participation in football. Agree or disagree? So, and also we wish to invite our audience to key in the questions for our panelists to answer later webinar. So for segment 2, we kick off with question number 6. I shall address this to Mr. Tin and also Mr. Prak Vuthy. Is there a short, medium and long-term plan for the youth female teams in your country? We start with Mr. Tin, please.
Yes, good afternoon to you again. So we have the pyramids. So just now I mentioned that before. So we have a plan, the short-term and long-term plans that we already planned. So every year, so we start from the grassroots, and then we going after 13, 12, 13, 14, the regional competitions. After that, we have a league. After that, we have going to the national teams. So every age group that we have for short-term 2 years, but actually we are making 4 years plans. Now we are planning preparation for the 2023 World Cup for the national teams. Also, under 20, under 17 is also preparation for the 2022. So every year we are continuously preparing for the teams. But at the moment, so we are very difficult to prepare for their preparation because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we hope that all our preparations is better. I hope that this is good enough.
Yes, Mr. Tin. Mr. Prak Vuthy, we can see that Mr. Tin from Myanmar has told us that there's a system or a structure in place at every age group. In Cambodia, what would be the plans?
Yeah, so honestly, let me it's my turn again to explain how to. For the short, medium, or long-term plan, we don't have it yet, but we have a short plan for develop only for the 2020 SEA Game only, so that we host. So it's like only it's not far yet. It's really near that we're gonna host it in the SEA Game. So FFC organized under 14 girls competition in the 2015, and 2016 we have the under 16 girls competition. But from the 2017 we have the senior team, and 2018 we have under 19, under 14 competition. So it means that from 2009 we also have the senior team and under 18 competition. And only the first we doing the women league for the first competition, but for our competition will be gonna if the COVID season will be delay the competition, or will be start from the next year. We have to see what's going on for the COVID season first. But for the plan to reach our goal, we keep going on, and we keep still working on it. How to is the best way for us to number of the players. So besides that, we just have a little short development plan for the to strengthen team of who has the women's girl and to post the club, the Myint professional club in Cambodia to have their own women team. So this is our first step to encourage team to get the strong team to their own club. Because of in our team, women team in Cambodia right now, we have under the academy. That's why some academy couldn't cooperate well with the club or need club to cooperate well with the team as well. So this is our working on it. And Mr. Prak just only the position of the women department only like 2 or 3 months or only. So we need to working well and strong cooperation and study more about the women football and to reach our goal together. That's all. Yes, it's all for me.
Okay, since Mr. Vuthy had touched on academies for clubs, we go to question number 7 then. Again, Mr. Tin, what type of academies you have in place in Myanmar when it comes to developing or even talent identifying the players, the women players, Mr. Tin?
In the football is very important. That's fine. So we have one the academy that we activate academy since 2007. So now the most of the national team players come from this academy. Now next year, maybe 2021. This is depending on the COVID-19 pandemic. We will open semi-academy in the Manali, second capacity of the Myanmar. So actually, current situations, we have a one academy, semi-girls academy in Lamado Yangon, and then we have a plan to increase one next the semi-academy in Manali. So that is very affected to develop the women football because everywhere without academy, without grassroots, so you cannot be achieve in the national teams. So that's why. So we just we start from the 2007. Okay, thank you.
So you have been encouraging clubs, Mr. Tin, to form academies at their level in order to help develop the women's game. I'm just curious as to know whether or not the private sector, are they helping in terms of maybe forming academies at grassroots level in order to encourage football players to play, young kids to play, whether boys or girls?
Yes, because in the grassroots level, the girls and boys play together. That depends on the traditional cultural situations, and the identity and the 14 competition. We cannot do the competition with the men that boys or girls. Only just in the grassroots levels.
Okay, what about you spoke just now about 200 over townships in Myanmar. Do they have academies to attract the female players to play at the residential areas?
Yes, and just now they're everywhere. Now that we are equipments of administrations and educate to the competition status to do their competitions. Also, around the country, most of the township football associations, they are doing their collaboration with the Ministry of Health and Sports, Ministry of Health Educations. They are doing together the competition with the stakeholders now. But women competitions, while you are doing the women competition, also still we are strategically because most of the parents they don't like to play their kids like girls, you know. So some we have some of the legend players like Lili. So also we have national team players. They are going to we have like ambassador, right? So they are going to township football associations, all the state and regions. So with regards to the activities that they are participating in this activities, that is now we are doing this at the moment now.
Okay. Mr. Prak, Vuthy, just now you touched on the academies. Actually, how many academies do you have in place in Cambodia?
Yeah, for the academy, for the FSC just established 25 provincial academies in 2018 for the boys. So, but for this provincial academy, start to have the under 18 girls team since beginning of this year. So so just we early start as well. So this academy doesn't have an lodging to stay, so the players come to the new place to have the play together. So and for the FFC just construct an official site pitch. It's mean like for the pitch with the natural grass for the 22 provincial academy already. So next year plan we have to complete all the construction for 25 pitch by standard pitch. So it means that for all the academy team can play with all by standard pitch for established by FFC. Yes, that's all.
Academies established by FFC. That's great to know. Okay, we will move on to question number 8. You spoke, Miss Lili, just now you spoke earlier about the barriers that are in place when it comes to promoting the game for the girls. What are the challenges that you face from AFC's perspective in promoting women's football in Asia?
Yeah, as we all know, Asia is the biggest continent in the world, right? For AFC, we're always facing, the climate changes, the vast landscape, and also it's all caused more traveling time and time differences. It's increased the cost for AFC to organize all kind of football activities, include the competition, the technical program. So this is the challenge we're facing, and also Asia is kind of such a variety, with different cultures and religious, and some places are still in horror environments, and because the uneven economic status. So in Asia, women's football developments in a very different levels. Actually, in AFC, we categorize them in 4 tiers. So most of our member association, more than 70% are in the 3rd and the 4th tiers. The 1st and the 2nd are our most like a World Cup and AFC common list. There's only about 15 member association into these categories. Actually, the gap between each tiers are quite big. You can still see the bigger results from our youth competition, and sometimes at the final stage, you still see like a 2 digits sometimes. So at the biggest challenge for us is to really bridge the gap between tiers. And we need to know that different tiers having different priorities and needs. So it's supposed to happen this year, but because the pandemic, from next year, we are going to organize the development seminar, which group them in 3 groups and provide information specifically according to their needs. Not like a past, we only organize 1 development seminar, which put them all together. We also thinking about the other like development programs for bridge the gaps. So we are facing challenges, but we are not putting them as excuses. And we also lots of optimisms you have to see. Like for example, India, China, we having the biggest population country in the world as well. So this is also very promising. If we are talking about participation, as I know, these two countries already aggressively kick off the school program. Once they got the number, and China is also in a better economic status now. They putting lots of investment in football, also includes women's football. So they put the coach education, as I already mentioned in other webinar. Number is not the problem in Asia. The problem is when the number is growing, you need to deal with the, you need to build a capacity to provide the service for the growing number. You need to build up the coach education. You need to provide the player pathway, coaches, referees, and also the competition around the age group and seniors. So you need to have a holistic plan, which Joseph also mentioned. Yes, actually in AFC, I still seeing the challenge is many, but also lots of positive things happening right now as well.
Miss Lili, you spoke about
yes.
your country, your native China, of course, belongs to the top tier. Where does India stand?
So far, India is in the third tier. And they do have the ambitions to growing women's football. As you know, they are hosting the Under-20 Women's World Cup, supposed to be this year, but FIFA already announced it's cancelled. So, but they're gonna continuously organizing the next one in 2022, and they are also hosting our Women's Cup in the same year as well. So they really want to get the international access and experience through hosting the international big tournaments. But at the other hand, you also need to prepare the results for that. Otherwise, it's a double-edged sword. So you really need to think about the results. And I think they are also doing very well, especially they appointed the first female Indian women coach for the senior national team. And it happens she is my coaching course classmate. So I really wish her very best and get good results in the future competition.
I cannot hear. I cannot hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Lili. You spoke about the need to bridge the gap, from the various tiers, especially to so that the other countries are able to compete with the superpowers like China, Korea, Japan, and even the Matildas of Australia. So, how do you cater to the needs of the different countries?
For example, I want to mention as a very important things, money. We already increased financial support to our member association. In last year, we doubled up the financial support to our member association to $500,000 and there's 10%, which is $50,000 must spend on women's football. It is a must. And the second, additionally, we also contribute $25,000 per year for the salary to hire a head of women's football in a member association. So because in the past, in most of our member association, especially in the lower tier country, they don't really have a women's football specific responsible people in place, which we think the people is the essential of the business. So that's why we launched this financial supports, and we call this a technical staff initiative to encourage member associations to have the people in place. And of course, we give the money and we also put the criteria there. They are not the she or he is random people, but with the football background and also coaching qualification, and also each year they need to give us a KPI and a report as well. So that's in this way we can controlling, monitoring and supporting our member association in the implementation stage. So the technical support we organizing, as I already mentioned, the group focusing group seminar, which are providing the information accordingly. For example, like Japan, China, the first tier, they need more like information at the competitive level. For example, the women's football trend, and also other like European teams, movements, etc. But at the lower tiers, they might really need the support from the grassroots level, coach education, elite youth. So we will provide the information accordingly. And through also our Women's Assistance Program, which we're helping our lower tier member association to establish the women's football strategic plan. So some member association, they don't really have the idea how to, plan, to make a plan, because they don't really have specific technical people working in women's football. And we are helping them by making assessment visits to get understanding of the situation. That's all the cost at AFC. We don't increase the cost for member association. We also provide the technical experts to work together with member association at their request. We know sometimes they lack of experience, expertise. So we're providing experts to work together with them. And from the competition side, we already modified our qualifying round. Previously, there's only one round for the qualification, but now it's increased to 2 rounds, which in the sense increased the number of games for the lower tiers. And in the future, in this 10 years plan, we also want to establish the development tournament, which for the teams who didn't qualify or don't qualify or be eliminated from the qualifier round, and they can compete with each other with the same level, also increase the international competition experiences. As I already mentioned, we are promoting the marriage between the men's club and the women's club. With the men's club's resources, money, and experience, expertise can definitely help women's team in growing the capacity, and also some big name men's clubs also attracting the fans for women's football as well. You can see the example from Europe, like in the FA, the Premier League. Now, after 10 years efforts, there are men's professional football, or most of them having women's teams. And women's also organizing, they call the professional league. There's so far 12 teams in the league. So this is after 10 years efforts to make it happen. And also this is what we are looking for in these 10 years. Thank you, Rizal.
Yes, Miss Lili, for all your strategic plans, you need cash. You need cash to grease the wheel. That's the summary that I can gather from your. Okay, we move on to question number 9, I guess. Number 9 now is. I wish to address this question to Coach Jacob and also Joseph. Yeah, what type of competitions organized in Singapore and Malaysia in terms of grassroots, youth, and senior team? Can we start with Joseph, please?
Yes, thank you, Rizal. I went through before a bit about our competitions. Within the grassroots stage, obviously we're looking at increasing the pool of players like we talked about and giving them extra enjoyment. We have different programs that we run. We have school fiestas, we have festivals. Our women's department has also come up with a Cubs program for grassroots girls, and we have 3 different centres around Singapore. That's proved to be very successful at this point in time. It's growing constantly, so we're very pleased with the way that's going at the moment. We've also got our women's department running the schools competition. That's our main form of competition for all our women's teams. So in primary school level, we have an under 11, under 12 competition, which we run. Then we have in our secondary school system a C, B and A division, which is the under 14s, under 17s and 19s. Then we have our top league competition, our Women's Premier League, and we have underneath that our Women's National League. So there are leagues running. We've also got a school futsal competition that it's part of the Fiesta program as well. So there are different competitions running within our environment for our women's and girls game. It's more imperative now whether we're getting the most out of these competitions and how we can increase, enhance it to make it better and more productive for our girls. So more games, better coaching, they're the type of things that we want to see. We're really pleased with our younger girls coming through. They've definitely been getting some really good coaching from our team. So they're coming along really well, and we just want to make sure that the competition can support their progression now going forward. Our under 14 girls in particular, we're hoping that they're going to be part of our long-term plan in how the game grows with good development going forward. So the competition structure is in place. We need to, like I think I mentioned before, we need to stabilise it and just improve it now going forward. With Goal 34 coming in place, this will probably change slightly now. We'll have development centres in and around our development process of the leagues, and that's probably going to give a different avenue of competition. So that's still in process at the moment. And with our club licensing that we talked about before, as Miss Lili put, we're trying to get ahead of the curve, and part of stabilising all these competitions is to be able to have clubs being involved in the development of the girls' game. So they're things that we're looking forward to getting done in the future. So hopefully not too far in the future, but in the short term, we're looking forward to be able to enhance these leagues.
Thank you, Joseph. Earlier in the first segment, Coach Jacob was telling us that Malaysia, with a population of 30 million people, has 700 players in total. I was just wondering, what about Singapore? Smaller in terms of size. What is the number of active players in Singapore, Joseph?
I haven't got the exact number with me at the moment. Like I said, our pool of players isn't great. We're still building towards a bigger base, obviously, and we're looking at our younger age group girls now starting to increase to what it was in the past. If you have a look at what we had in terms of our last year's women's competition in our Premier League, there was only 5 teams and 10 in the National League underneath. So that probably tells us that we haven't got enough to sustain a pipeline of good developing girls coming through. That's probably also been reflected in our national team's performance just recently. But there is a committed effort by our whole women's department, our whole technical department to improve that going forward, building the base, increasing participation, and now fixing the structures that we've identified that need to be fixed to increase that going forward.
But I was made to understand that the coaching job in Singapore is highly sought after. I hear there are a lot of applicants eyeing the job.
It's a very prestigious position, the head of women's A national team, and as Miss Lili said, there's FIFA and AFC have come up with great funding for us to be able to improve our women's game, and part of it will be used in our league development, part of it will be used in our search for a women's A national team coach who will be able to oversee the mentoring of all the national team coaches going down the line as well. We're in the process of making a shortlist. We had possibly over 150 applicants. We had a discussion with the women's department today about that. So it just shows that people who see Singapore probably share the same vision that we have about growing the women's game, and we're very serious about it, and we're really looking forward to announcing our next national A team coach very, very shortly as well.
Thank you for the heads up, Joseph. Okay, Coach Jacob, we know Malaysia has had organizing Piala Tun Sharifah Rodiah, Tun Sharifah Rodiah Cup since the 70s. Yeah, and as one of the major showpiece events in the country. So what are other competitions available for a girl to join in Malaysia?
Okay, thank you, Riza. Okay, like me, I'm involved this football, women football is more than 40 years. That means we don't have any leagues nearly 40 years. But just 2 years back, we already start our league, women league. We having 8 teams. Just we play for 2 months. Before that, we just play Tunsai Foroja as a carnival. Just carnival for 10 days, they finish off. That's when I was a national player, a national coach in 99, until 2001. Only we play a carnival. Now we already start because now is my president and my chairman is very serious in women development. That means we are next year we have already planned. We are having our senior team and we got a 2 tournament. That means one tournament is our league, women league. That means we break the women league is into the 5 zone. That means each zone we will get around minimum is around 6 team. They will play home and away around. We can get around 10 games. From the zone, the teams in the top 5 teams automatic will go to the Tun Sharifah tournament. That means the best 3 second place, they will join Tun Sharifah tournament for 8 teams. That means in the second league is a Tun Sharifah tournament, is 8 teams. Then we will break the teams in 2, Group A and B. That means each team will play another 3 matches. Then we go to semi-final and final. That means this we are starting for next year. We try to put the league longer and the players can play more games before they come for the national team. If not, I always in the national teams, we got a carnival tournament and we got a 10 days tournament. Then we select the players. Now we get more players we can select. The same also we will go for under 70 tournament. They we call like a under Liga Putri. This also same. We are going for by state. We got a whole Malaysia. We got a 14 state. I mean every state we got a league. We put the league. That means each state they will play at least 7 weeks, 7 games. Every week's 1 games. Then from that state, and we got another second league for under 17. When end of the year, we just put a carnival, just carnival. We will finish around 10 days. Same also for the grassroots under 12. We are doing on a school holidays. Like we put a 3 circle, the circuit. We playing like 7-a-side. That means every school holiday we gather these players and we play a small side game like 7-a-side or 5-a-side. This tournament, 3 tournament next year, and another one is a social league. I told it's like a weekend. It's per month or once we are playing. That's our league we are planning for next year. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Coach Jacob. We move on to question number 10. I shall address this to Miss Lili. We know that you spoke about bridging the gap between the 4th tier, 3rd tier with the top tier. Yeah. Just for the knowledge of our audience today, the ranking in Asia, top of the rankings at this point of time, Australia is at number 1, followed by North Korea, Japan, China and South Korea. Number 6 is Vietnam, while number 7 is Thailand. Myanmar is at 10th place, while Malaysia is at 18th place, and Singapore is 25th. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, Miss Lili, against this backdrop, how would you conclude the need to narrow the gap from these countries, Miss Lili?
Actually, from AFCL point of view, I already introduced many ways we are improving us and, to helping our member association improve as well. From the money, financial support, technical support, and modifying our competitions and club licensing, etc. But as I mentioned in our plan, the AFC need to work together with member association. As today, I'm very happy that the member association in the ASEAN region, we are exchanging the ideas and also introduce the different experiences in women's football, and that's already showing a good side and in terms of working together, collaboration between member association and also together working with EFC. So I think once we align ourselves and we are working towards the same goal, then we can always work things out, and eventually we can improving Asian women's football, and not only for our top teams, compete at the world level, but also to raising all the member associations into a better level. And we are making the women's football in a better world. Thank you, Rizal.
Yes, thank you, Miss Lili. Keep up the good work, yeah? Don't lose heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you,
just,
Miss Lili, for that. Yeah.
Just one thing I want to mention as well. Yes, Joseph also mentioned that the FIFA also pouring lots of money, and they already promised that they're gonna invest in 4 billion in these 4 years. So lots of money is not gonna be the biggest issue in these following years. And also FIFA promised to organizing the women's club competitions and also women's national league. So you see, like as we said, competition drive the development. Now you have money with the FIFA money, AFC money, and we also improving the competition from all level, club level, national team, youth competition. So the future is very bright, but we really need to put our foot on the ground and work together. So I think it's very promising, and please let's keep us in the face. The women's football is getting better and better. Back to you, Rita.
Yes, Miss Lili, that means we have to move up to a higher gear. Now on to gear 6.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Miss Lili, for the enlightening information. Now we go for another break. Stay tuned, for we will select questions from our viewers to be posed to our panelists for segment 3. We'll be back.
Hey, jom lari. Jangan berhenti. Sikit lagi. Cuba ni.
Wow, 100 plus aktif tanpa karbonat.
100 plus aktif baru tanpa karbonat ditambah vitamin B. Hidrat semula, segar, bertenaga. 100 plus aktif baru tanpa karbonat ditambah vitamin.
Hey!
Welcome back to FM webinar series. It is the 6th series in our webinar series, and thank you everyone for your attention. Now let's go to the question and answer session. We take your questions and throw them to our panelists. Okay, we have Miss Lili to answer this question. Yeah, Jose Ricardo Rambo, a coach from Hong Kong. The question is definitely it is important to increase female participation, but key to developing players to a higher level is competition. Any future plans to build more competition between lower ranking member associations, and of course after this during this difficult time of COVID-19 situation? Miss Lili?
As already mentioned, apart from modifying our qualifying rounds, and we also thinking about the development tournament for the lower ranking teams who don't qualify in our final stage, and also who is be eliminated from the final stage. So that's gonna increase more games, more international game experience for the lower ranking team, and also in the youth competition, which we shouldn't forget. Currently, we are running the youth competition in biannual years. So in the future, we will trying to, and that's our goal, to make the youth competition at the annual basis. So that's definitely can increase the experience for the youth player in sense development. That can increase the competitiveness from at the youth stage. This is also part of our strategy to bridge the gap between tiers. The COVID situations, we have to understand that the currently the outdoor activities, still not really in an implementation stage, fully open to us yet. But we have to be patient, and the human being, the health has to be put in the first place. We need to keep pace, then we can overcome the diseases. Back to you, Rizal. I hope I answered the question.
Yes. Okay. This question is for Coach Jacob to answer. Mr. Jivan Gabriel, coaches for girls, what are our plans to ensure the local coaches have the confidence in our girls' abilities and capabilities?
Okay, now the problem is our coaches now from last year. From this year we got a grassroots coaches. We already have a grassroots coaches, 140 coaches, and we got a C license is around 12 coaches, and D license is 26 coaches. They mean B license is only 1 coaches. They mean we are looking for the our ex-national players to come as coaches, but still we need more coaches. They mean this way next year we already planned. We're having our grassroots coaches for 3 coaches for grassroots, 2 courses for D license, and C license 1. That means we get coaches next year. I try to look for coaches like my grassroots team. For example, my grassroots team is got 20 academy. That means we already finished our D license coaches and C license coaches, and we want to put them in this group first, in the academy first. From there, we slowly educate them as become good coaches.
Okay, Coach. Thank you, Coach. Joseph, this is for you. From Hafiz, I would like to address this question to Mr. Joseph Palatsides from Singapore. How social media is changing the way we talk about women's football in Singapore?
I think so the world has impacted the whole game, not just in Singapore. You can see I was fortunate enough to see the transition of the women's game in Australia, where we went from a relatively ordinary level to a top 10 team in the world. And the hype in and around that, not through social media and all media platforms, just helped the game grow to an extent that no one probably thought was possible. The same thing now with Singapore. You can see that there is a push from everyone involved to grow the game. and that's going to go across media platforms that are around, and that's just going to help promote the game further. We need to be able to promote the game. We need to be able to go further to make our women's game grow. So this is just one of the platforms that will help that. But then it's up to us to make sure that we get the ball and make sure that I think we all mentioned today certain areas of the development of the women's game that needs to be attended to, and we just have to make sure that we hold up our end to make sure that the game grows in Singapore to the level that we want it to get to. Thank you, Rizal.
Right. Okay, thank you, Joseph. And just to summarize, I wish to invite every panelist to have your final words. Maybe we can start with Mr. Tin, please. Your thoughts, your final thoughts for this webinar. Yeah.
No, this is a very good program for the ASEAN countries. Also, what they are learning from the broadcasting. Also, for the women football developments. This is a educational program. This is a goal for every woman, you know. So I also thanks to the AFC to participate Lili to participate in this program. I also appreciated Jacob and I appreciate to the Malaysia Football Association FAM because to create this program. I think in our especially in our regions, we need to create the that's more educational program, you know. So now I'm learned from that. So I also will plan for the next year about these programs. Okay, thank you, Raza.
Terima kasih, Mr. Tin. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. Okay, we move on to Mr. Prak Vuthy. Your final thoughts of this topic.
Mike.
Miss Panye, can you unmute your mic? Okay, maybe we move on first to Coach Jacob. Your final thoughts on this topic.
Okay, first I thanks to all the panelists and Rizal, because this is the first time our FM Women Departments organized the webinar. And this is the way we can find out some ideas from all the participants, all the country, how they grow their women development program. This is a good, at least we get some ideas. These ideas can we bring and we can implement in our country. Thank you.
Okay, Joseph, your thoughts, your final thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Rizal. I'd like to thank FAM for the invitation to be on this platform today, and all our colleagues here today it was a great insight to share different ideas, as Mr. Jacob just said, and to see that we all have one common goal of how we can make women's football better and how we can grow the game to a higher level. I think we all have our own challenges and we all address it, but I think that the relationship between all of us is so important in how we progress and how we can help each other with that same objective of growing the women's game. So I look forward to having more contact with all my colleagues here. Ms. Lili, thank you for your insight from your area of expertise in particular. Thanks for that as well. So I appreciate the invitation and look forward to meeting you all again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Is Mr. Prak Vuthy back online? Ms. Panye, your final thought, please. Ms. Panye, can you hear me? Okay. Otherwise, we wish to invite a summary from Ms. Lili from AFC.
Thank you, Rizal. Actually, from the audience questions, I really want to highlight this because they are asking how we can increase female coaches' confidence level and how we can utilize the social media. Actually, in Asia, we do, because these kind of cultural barriers and religious restrictions, we need to promote women's football from all kind of campaign. For example, AFC from 2018, we launched a campaign called the It's My Game, which we posted all female image, Asia female images. They are working in different roles on and off the pitch, demonstrating good practices. So we want to inspire female and girls and women that actually you have all kinds of possibility to work in football. Coaches, players, referees, administrators, and decision makers. So this is not impossible. So you really need to work on that. And in this year, we also launched another campaign called Game Changer, which mainly about the players. They're telling their stories, experiences, to encourage more girls to participate in women's football. So I hope there were a member association and also all the Indians. You are all the influencer. So you can, throughout your support and also thinking about any campaign to support women's football in development pathway, that we are very much appreciated. And also today's webinar online, that I want to give a special thanks to FAM for organizing this, which allow us to express our opinions, exchanging the experience, and also updating the information in women's football, which helping in development sense. Thank you very much again for all your contribution today.
Thank you, Ms. Lili. Okay, let's go again back to Cambodia with Mr. Prak Vuthy. Any last words?
Also cannot.
There is an issue maybe with the audio. Yeah.
I think she cannot hear you.
But we have a issue, audio issue. Okay, it's okay. Before we bid farewell, let's see the results of our poll on development of grassroots should be prioritized to increase female participation in football. Agree or disagree? So it is only natural that 94% agrees with that it should be prioritized to increase female participation in football. Thank you so much to all our audience and participants of this webinar. Again, to all our 5 panelists, Ms. Bai Lili, Mr. Joseph Palatsides from Singapore, Mr. Prak Vuthy from Cambodia, Mr. Myint Aung from Myanmar, who was a former armed forces player, and Mr. Jacob Joseph. Please accept our gratitude for your presence and sharing session. We hope the objectives of this webinar is met. Our hope is that the information shared today will push everyone involved in the women's game in this region to work doubly hard in order to gain the desired results. So what do we want? Is clearly stipulated in AFC development strategy leading to 2030. More girls to play, talented girls to practice more and to receive high quality coaching, Asian club and national teams to compete successfully at the highest level. So we wish the best of luck for all our panelists and their respective countries. Last but not least, thank you to our partners for bringing this webinar to the audience. Till we meet again for the next FM webinar. I bid farewell.
Hey, jom lari. Jangan berhenti. Sikit lagi. Cuba ni.
Wow, 100 plus aktif tanpa karbonat.
100 plus aktif baru tanpa karbonat ditambah vitamin B. Hidrat semula, segar, bertenaga. 100 plus aktif baru tanpa karbonat ditambah vitamin.
Hey,